I've always been into games with rich stories and universes, and if that's what you're into, then there's no better place to look than the original Mass Effect. Because even though by today's standards, the gunplay, movement, and gameplay is somewhat archaic, even in the Legendary Edition upgrade, the core of what makes the first Mass Effect game so great is its world building and story. The first Mass Effect tells the story of a hero named Commander Shepard, who discovers a galaxy-wide conspiracy and threat called the Reapers that are hell-bent on destroying all life in the galaxy. And from this starting point, the sci-fi epic branches into multiple stories of crazy lost alien species, mind control, and what it even means to be human. It's one of, if not the only big-budget video game sci-fi sagas and worlds that truly creates an immersive universe, full of different species, backstories, and history that you can dig into. And you see, that's what makes Mass Effect so special. This first introduction to the world takes its ample time and is slow, and that's what it's all about. Early on, you unlock access to a codex where you can sit for hours and listen to the history and backstory of each and every little thing in the universe, from the L-Core to how guns use Mass Effect fields to fire projectiles at high speeds. And it's this rich and colorful backstory that leads to such an amazing experience. I really wish more games would take the time to dive this deep into their lore and explain everything around all the systems in the game, because it can really heighten the experience for players that put in the time. For example, landing on the Citadel for the first time and realizing just how far and wide this game's history and lore goes is awe-inspiring, as you make your way from a rich and pompous Presidium to the dark and crime-infested lower wards. And it's because Mass Effect isn't afraid to sit in these slower moments that the game has such great payoffs. After forcing players to simply slow down and learn about the world and the events that have happened before, later on in the story, it becomes so much more powerful because of that buildup. The game also has my personal favorite moments in the entire series, like speaking with Sovereign on Vermeer, not only one of the best speeches in Mass Effect, but all of gaming ever. It's a throwback to a now gone era of BioWare at its peak, creating worlds and stories that captured the hearts and minds of so many. And it's a perfect example of what a new RPG should be in terms of world building and storytelling if that IP ever wants to be big and long lasting. And it's also something that to this day no one has been able to pull off since. A giant multi-game space opera epic that tells a story only rivaled by the greatest books and television of our generation. It's one of those games where the more love and time you put into it, the more the game will give back, providing players with the richest sci-fi gaming world ever created. It's a shame that so many Mass Effect players only started with the second game too, and that so many kids nowadays never got the chance to play this when they grew up, because it's the type of game that can make you fall in love with the gaming medium altogether, crafting a world that you can truly get lost in. After all, isn't that what gaming is all about? If you haven't already, do yourself a favor and give the first Mass Effect a shot. It may be one of the jankiest of the games on this list, and probably least fun to play on a gameplay level in the Mass Effect series, but it's harboring a love and heart that almost no other games can quite achieve, with a focus on making a universe that will stay with you forever.